And once I'm on stage, I'm really immersed in the character. And it's amazing for me when I start crying or when I don't pretend that I'm having fun, I'm actually having fun. And that mix of feelings, that things that take me through this roller coaster of emotion, but then at the end of the day, I can unplug and be myself again. It is amazing. But what I love the most is the connection with the audience.
Hello, my name is Eline Perez and you're listening to Are You an Artist? Today's episode is with Kristian Alexander Wedolowski, and it's about acting and receiving letters from the audience, singing in the car, and Madonna. I was again very touched by the guest's generosity in sharing stories about his life experience, so I will leave you now with this wonderful, very unique character, Kristian Alexander. Enjoy! Can you sing for the intro something?
What? Like what? Hey, let me see. Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you. All through my wild days, my mad existence, I kept my promise. Don't keep your distance.
Wow. That's so nice. I'm so impressed right now.
Thank you.
So I wrote you a letter.
You did?
Yeah. Dear Chris, when I first met you, I thought you looked so cool. Definitely like an artist. You are an actor, raised in Uruguay, lived in the States, and now in London. And I found on the internet that you had a conversation with Madonna and that you can dance tango, salsa, and merengue. I want to know more about this and about you, your work, your life, and what you are interested in. So welcome to the podcast, Chris, and here comes the first question. Are you an artist?
Am I an artist? Well, before I answer that question, I want to say thank you. When I first met you, I thought you were really cool. So I'm glad that two cool people meet today.
Well,
Yay. Am I an artist? I like to think that I am. And I like to think that most people are. If we look at artists as people that create. And we are all creating something. I think I create more than other people because I create a lot of things in my mind that then I like to see materialize. I think I'm an artist because I like the reaction that art can create. And I like through my actions to inspire people. And I think that's the definition of art, whatever the form of art is. If I take a look at me as an actor, yes, I'm an artist, but also I like to think that I'm an artist in life in general and every day because I'm always creating situations. I'm always looking for reactions. I enjoy making people laugh. I enjoy making people feel emotion.
and were you the same when you were a kid?
Yes. Well, I was a performer since the early ages. I think everybody that went to a birthday in my house, like either my dad's birthday, mom's birthday, my sister's, every friend of the family had to see me, do magic tricks. I had all these boxes full of magic tricks. Second, play the piano because I trained in electronic keyboard category A, B, and C, and I was very proud. So
What is category A, B, and C?
Well, A, B, and C, okay, I don't remember very well, but it's up to double keyboard with one octave in the pedals as well. So I can play with two hands and then one octave in the pedals that it would make the bass.
Wow.
So I hope if there's any professional musician out there, like, I'm not saying anything that is nonsense. But yeah, and I really enjoyed performing for an audience. And I would get so mad if people would be talking. So birthday for them were really boring, but for me, I was the star. So
How long would you perform for?
A while, and nobody could talk. If people would start talking, I would just run to my bedroom and lock myself.
My God.
Yeah, because I love performing and I need an audience to perform. So yeah, it was fun. Like music always inspired me. Performing really inspires me. Yeah.
And when you were in school, did you have like acting classes or possibility to
We didn't have
explore?
acting classes. I was always in the choir at school. Funny enough, I was a soprano first. And as my voice started to get lower, then I moved to tenor. Then I was a bass. But I was always in there. And I always was in every end of year performance. So at the end of the year, we would do like a theater play or an act where everybody gets to participate. So yeah, I would always do that. Yeah.
And Do you remember the first time when you started to sing, or you don't even remember? It was
No.
very natural.
It was very natural. I think like with my sisters in the car. Like
Okay.
my parents didn't have a lot of money, but we always traveled the world. So in our car, we had a very old car, and the five of us would just get the car and travel 14 hours north to Brazil.
Oh, wow.
We would go to Chile. We crossed the Andes in our car. I remember one time the car would not climb the mountains, and then people had to help us. So it was a lot of adventure, but it was so many hours in the car that I would just sing and sing and sing, and then we would start harmonizing. It was really nice. So we sang in many languages because I went to the Italian school. So we sang a lot of songs in Italian.
So you can speak Italian?
Yeah. I speak Italian. Yeah. I speak Italian because so my grandparents were Polish. My dad was born in Rome. And then when they went to Uruguay, my grandparents only could speak Polish and Italian. So there was no Polish school where they could talk to the teachers. So they went to the Italian school because they could speak Italian. So my father went to the Italian school, and all of us went to the Italian school as well. So for 15 years.
That's great.
Yeah, bellissimo.
And do you remember the first time you could be on stage, apart from those birthdays that is a bit more familiar?
Oh yeah, at school. At school, I would always like fight to be on stage. So I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to be the star. Not always I accomplished that, but I'm a fighter. So I would try to be on stage as much as possible. And then when I was at an early age, I don't remember how old I was, my mom and my sister started to study theater, first for fun, etc. And then after school, I would go and I would join them because they always needed men in place in theater because they didn't have many men that wanted to act at that time in Uruguay. So it was really fun because I started like first learning. I went to drama school. I got to perform a lot, mostly Spanish authors. And then I got to help a lot because I am very technical as well. I studied engineering, so I enjoyed doing lights and sound and producing. And it became an all-rounded love for being on stage and doing things. And like I was telling you earlier, also movies. In Uruguay, they do a lot of movies, collaborations with Argentina as well. So it was extremely interesting because I would go and sign up to be an extra, and it would be like so much fun. I wanted to be among cameras, and then I felt like I was like the lead of the movie, and then I would watch the movie and I didn't appear. I was so frustrated, but it's fine. You know, at least I was on set and I was around my environment, basically.
Wow. And do you remember the first time you were paid to do something on stage or?
Yes. No, I think my first theater paycheck was once I moved into the United States. So I went to the United States.
How old were you?
There I was like late 20s. And it was interesting because I auditioned for this show and I got cast in the show. And I was not expecting to be cast in the show because I tried a lot of other shows before, and people were saying like, yeah, I love your acting, but I don't imagine that character with an accent, for example. And so it was in North Carolina at that time, and I just don't have an American accent. In my mind, I don't have an accent, but apparently I do.
Me too.
Really? Yes. Yeah, so in my mind, I was like, what? My English is perfect. It's only when people don't understand me that I realize, like, maybe I do have a strong accent. But yeah, I did a show and I got a paycheck. It was in a festival in the mountains in Asheville. It was a show that my partner wrote, but he wasn't my partner at that time. And it was fantastic. So it felt so good because at that time I realized like what I'm doing is worthwhile. It's not just a hobby. And yeah, it was attractive to people and it was attractive to me as well. So that's when I decided that this is more than a hobby. It's like something that I want to do with my life.
And do you know what you like about acting? How you feel when you're on stage?
I love it. I mean, it fills me with energy, but at the same time, it's very structured as well. I'm a very unstructured person. So I suffer now. I have the gift of ADHD. So I don't like structure. So I'm always looking for things that take me out of there. The good thing about acting, and I always thought about this since I was a kid and I wanted to be on Hollywood and I wanted to do theater and I would go to see plays and I loved it, is must be amazing not always live the same life. Like you're an actor, you embed yourself into someone else's life, you get those feelings. And I really get there. Even though I'm not a method actor, I go, and once I'm on stage, I'm really immersed in the character. And it's amazing for me when I start crying or when I don't pretend that I'm having fun, I'm actually having fun. And that mix of feelings, that things that take me through this roller coaster of emotion, but then at the end of the day, I can unplug and be myself again, then I think it is amazing. But what I love the most is the connection with the audience. So you can rehearse for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month and a half, and then you go and you do the show for the first time in front of an audience. It's just so energizing because you finally understand the essence of the script. And it's just beautiful. A lot of time, because of my language gap, and usually I perform in English, it's like, what they were laughing about, or was that line really funny? Because in rehearsal you don't have an audience and people will not laugh or will not cry.
Yeah.
But that's what energizes me, because I'm a very altruist person by nature. I don't know, I work for people well-being all the time. I want to make people happy, but I also want to make people experience. I gift people experiences. And theater is the key to that. You stand on stage, you start talking, you start creating an emotion and seeing that the audience is crying because of what you're saying, or they are laughing, or they have a relief, and then they send you a letter because of what they felt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that happened a lot.
You have letters.
Yeah. And I keep them. Like, I have some letters, well, mostly emails, but a lot of people send also handwritten letters about shows that we have done. One day we did a show called Casa Valentina about the beginnings of the transgender movement in the Catskills in New Jersey. And for me, it was like so amazing because I got to put in the shoes of the trans community. I got to learn so much. I got to talk to so many of my friends about understanding struggles, understanding situations, understanding love, and understanding acceptance. And then once I did the show, and the show is really interesting, is all these men that they were straight, in quotes I'm doing, and they would go into this cabin in New Jersey to live for a weekend dressed in women clothes and as women. And then they would go back to their wife and kids, etc. But it was such an interesting show that filled me with pride. But after the show, a lot of men wrote to me and said, like, I'm glad to see that people got to live the life they wanted, and really acknowledging the beauty of the show and what it was. And for me, it was very, one, terrifying because I was on stage. I had to dress as a woman on stage. I had to do my makeup on stage, looking at the audience as if the audience was a mirror, and I looked terrible. I had to go backstage and people had to fix my makeup. Because,
wow.
Yes, but it was extremely interesting. So those reactions that you get from the audience, they are just priceless. Sometimes I would cry over an email. Sometimes I would be puzzled over an email. I would be like, what's going on and how I can help. And you feel that you're making a difference. And that's how I feel when I go to see a show myself and it touches me. And I'm like, this show really impacted me, and I appreciate the art that goes behind it, from the director, from the actors, and everything in between.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how do you prepare your role when you have, let's say, a new role, a new script?
Well, like I said, I have ADHD. So if you ask Glenn, my partner, he would say, like, Kristian doesn't prepare. But I do prepare, and I do prepare a lot. First, I have like a weird memory. So I need to go through the script and through the emotions before I memorize the script.
Okay.
Once I know the emotions that the character is feeling, for me, learning the script is a matter of hours. So I can learn the script immediately and I will remember it forever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's very weird how my brain operates. And then I talk to people. I talk to people that been through those situations. I mean, we did a show that had a lot of religious connotations, and I got to talk to a lot of people that believe and a lot of people that they don't believe. And at that point, it really helped me realize why I'm doing the show and what it means to be doing the show. A lot of time directors ask me, like, so what are you thinking there? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to fail that test. So just tell me and I will do it. But I do have my own internal process that maybe is very different from a method actor, right? That they live within that character. I did a show called Bent, which is about the persecution of homosexuals during the Holocaust. And Ian McKellen played the role of Max, originated that role. And for me, it was I lived that role for the 3 or 4 weeks that we ran the show. I lived that role. And someone asked me at the end, "Are you sad that the show is finishing?" And it's like, no, I have to keep going with my life with a little more happiness and hope and a lot of things. But
Yeah.
I think the show, and because of the struggle that were lived during that time, I think humanity learned, or I like to think that humanity learned. So theater helps me learn and understand humanity and understand people. And how I prepare, I have that internal process that helps me ask questions to myself. What would Christian do in this situation? And then convert that into first, what the director wants, and second, what the audience needs.
So it's almost like you've lived lives of
Yeah.
other people in
But
a
that's what
way.
I wanted. That's my dream since I was a kid, right? So I wanted to live several lives because one is boring and I'm not going to wait until reincarnation. So, yeah.
And do you feel like working as an actor is different in like Uruguay and the States and London, or it feels pretty similar?
It is similar. It is different in the type of shows.
And
So,
also
for example,
languages, I guess. No? Languages as well.
languages as well, but lately I think I can convey better my emotions in English because it's easier not to be myself in English than is in Spanish, even though I love performing in Spanish as well, especially poems or stuff like that. But in Uruguay is a very artistic country. Like you can go to Uruguay, it's a small country, 3 million people. My city, Montevideo, is 1.5 million. And you
Wow.
have like usually I go, I check what's going on in theater. You have like 50, 60, 70 plays at the same time, and it's hard to find tickets. So people go to the theater. There is this culture of theater. It's mostly straight plays. There are some musicals, but it's like comedy and drama, and people appreciate. It's that culture that we inherited from Spain and from France and the big comedy, right? And the big company of theaters and the greatest actors of all time. So it is pretty amazing as a country. Then you go to the United States and they love their musicals. And and so for me it was very hard because when you arrive to a place like America and you go to see a musical, a lot of times it happens to me that I go as an audience. I went to see a show with a German friend, Heidi, one of my best friends, and then Glenn, my partner, and we sat there to see the Drowsy Chaperone. Apparently, it's an amazing show and so funny that the whole audience was just laughing the whole time. And I was looking at my German friend and we were like, and then, yeah. And then suddenly, when everybody was silent, I would just laugh at something. And so it's very different humor. And still for me, it's weird when someone breaks into song in the middle of a scene. But then I start,
It's so strange. Why are you singing?
I know, exactly. But I got to appreciate the art of musical theater. Is like that being a triple threat, right? You dance, you sing, you act, and you do it well. And it blows my mind. That's the beauty of the West End, of Broadway. And I live with a musical theater aficionado. Like he loves musical theater. And so I got to appreciate a lot. As you see, there are like art from many musicals all over the house. But it is something that I learned to appreciate. And then you come here to London and it's a mix of both. Because here there is still like the independent, deep art, but it's also a lot of big musicals, big scale. And I think both are appreciated and both are enjoyed and they coexist. And you can see actors that jump from screen to theater, from theater to musicals, from musical to screen. And it's pretty seamless, that transition. And I really, really admire that.
And have you ever written something or?
No, I always want to, and I always have like these ideas that I want to do, but I think to write, you need to sit still, and it's very hard.
And do you still do music now?
Well, I sing in the shower mostly,
Okay.
and I enjoy playing. I lent my piano to a new theater cafe in Camden, so I'm not playing right now. But Yeah, I have a lot of ideas for music, a lot of things that I want to do. I want to start playing again and continue playing. But right now, no, I'm not doing much music.
And you've never worked for a musical?
Well, I've been in a lot of musicals actually. Some of my favorite ones were, well, Evita. I always wanted to be in the musical Evita, so I played Che in Evita in the United States.
Wow.
I played the arbiter in the musical Chess, probably my favorite musical. A lot of people that are musical theater fans may disagree, but I just love the music. It's by ABBA, and some of the, I think it's the best score out there. Yeah, many musicals. One of my favorite ones, Passion, because it's very classic musical theater. It's like, I will never be able to perform this. And I actually learned it. I actually sang it, and I think it was successful.
Okay.
The acting was better than the singing, I have to admit, but I pulled it off. So
And so
I'm
you know
happy
how
with it.
to act, dance, and sing on stage
Oh
for the same
gosh,
show.
dance? No, I'm not a choreographed dancer. If you see me like dancing in a club, I can get myself in the middle of the floor and just like steal the show dancing, but don't tell me what I need to do because I cannot follow. Like my poor brain just explodes trying to follow. Yeah, trying to follow direction. I have been the nightmare of many choreographers. Yeah.
Have you?
Yes, 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 yes.
And you've also, I saw that you've been the managing director of Queen City Theatre Company.
Yeah, so we created Queen City Theater Company, 2005. So I said, I would like to produce some shows. And Glenn told me, I would like to direct some shows. And it's hard to find a niche when you really want to create some shows and you are in a specific geography in the world and you want to really explore the human experience and you really want to push the envelope. And so we wanted to do that, and we created Queen City Theater Company. It was an organization focused on doing work that challenged our audiences. And I think we really succeeded at that. We ran it for 12 years
Oh,
in
wow.
North Carolina, in the United States. I performed in many of their shows.
So you were managing and performing.
Yes, 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 and a lot of other hats as well. So yeah, we would do costumes and we would do set and we would partner with everybody in the community, to make that happen. And it was really fulfilling, really, really, really interesting. I think it's one of the things that kept me where I was because we were part of a community and people were relying on us to be entertained, but also to be challenged. People were educated about a lot of topics. We did a lot of LGBT related shows, but most of our audiences for that show were not LGBTQ plus people. They were people that went there and they were learning, they were absorbing. It's like, I didn't know my family went through that. I didn't know
Oh, wow.
yeah,
It's quite intense.
it
Yeah.
was really intense. We did this show called Southern Baptist Sissies, and it was about these four gay guys that grew up in the Southern Baptist Church. There was this woman that came to see all of our shows after that. And
Wow.
yeah, and then one day I met her at the bar and she said, I want to introduce myself, and I'm probably not your typical audience. She called herself something that I don't remember. It's like, but I went to see that show of yours, and I understood what my brother went through before he killed himself. And it really blew my mind. I cried and I hugged her, and she cried, and she's like, I will always support the work that you do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how you can really touch people's lives. And also, I guess, when you're learning to act, you are learning about these lives, but then you also give the message to other people who come to see the show.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yes.
it's about the message. But even when I'm not performing, what I like to do is I go backstage and I sat there in the balcony looking at the audience because what it's on stage we created, I don't want to see the show over and over again. I like to see the audience and I like to see the reactions
Wow.
because that for me is the biggest gift. It's like 1 hour, 2 hours, 2 hours and a half of your life that you spend there dedicated to what we created. And it just blows my mind. People so attentive and people reacting and people happy, people offended, people crying. It's all these emotions that you only get through theater. And for me, as a person, as a creator, as an artist, that's how we started our conversation today. It's just amazing.
Oh, wow. Do you want to talk about your trip to Japan?
Trip to Japan. I'm big in Japan. I'm big in Japan. Yeah, so it was interesting. So one day I arrived to university and I saw a sign that says, "Do you want to travel the world with 276 young people from all over the world in a cruise ship?" And I was like, yes, sign me up. When is it? I will make it happen. So I signed up, I applied, and I was not selected. So I was
Oh.
like, mwah, mwah, mwah. And so, but I never give up. I'm a fighter. And so I remember I called the embassy of Japan. It's like, hey, I saw this is sponsored by the government of Japan. How can I get into this program? It's like, well, we gave an invitation to all of these organizations. So I went to the Ministry of Culture, to the youth organization. It's like, hey, I know you have an invitation for this. And it's like, okay, so fill this. How would you represent Uruguay in an event like this? So I said, like, okay, so I wrote a theater play. I said, like, I will write a theater play. This is what it would be. I wrote everything, and I was accepted, and I was part of the program. I couldn't believe it. Then suddenly I was invited to a dinner at the Embassy of Japan, and I met the other participants of the program. Then they flew me to Tokyo. I met everybody else. We stayed with a host family. I stayed in the Olympic Village. We stayed in a hotel in the center of Japan. And then from there, we boarded a cruise ship called the Nippon Maru with 276 people, 120 from Japan and 156 from several countries. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. We stopped in the Kingdom of Tonga, Solomon Islands, Tahiti, Ecuador, and we ended up in Mexico. So we crossed from Tokyo to Acapulco, and it was the experience of a lifetime. I have friends still from that time. I performed on stage in the cruise ship. We did the musical Grease. So I was the leader of the Grease Club. So I got to play Danny Zuko. It was amazing. It was an initiative from the government of Japan and the United Nations University. And it really changed my life. It made it richer. It gave me the itch to travel, to explore the world, but also to connect with different cultures. Mm-hmm. Because we are so equal, but also so different. And we take a lot of things for granted sometimes, and learning from each other. And that the slogan for the trip was celebrating diversity, spirits of tomorrow. And I still live by that. Yeah.
Wow. Do you have inspirations?
Inspirations?
Like people who really follow their work, can be actors, can be like...
I do, but there are too many. So, yeah, there are a lot of people, but I think it always varies. You know, a lot of people say, like, well, my inspiration is X or Y, or I love this individual. And then they have this obsession with this because everything needs to be like that person. And I have a lot of inspiration. So, of course, I have personal inspirations, like related to family or some friends that I really admire. When it comes to art, I inspire people that know what they want and they stick to what they want. So even though I may not be the biggest fan, I appreciate the outcome of what they have accomplished and how they changed the world for the better. You mentioned Madonna. Big fan of Madonna. A lot of people may say, like, oh, her music is not my thing. A lot of her songs are not my thing either. But there you have someone that became powerful, that changed music forever, that young people still follow her, and she fought. She fought for what she wanted, regardless of what the Vatican said, of what the government said, of what people said, of what men said. It's a strong female leader of our times that we see her succeed year after year. And even now at 65, she keeps on performing, she keeps on succeeding. So do I agree with all of her music? No. There are some songs that I don't like. There are some songs that became my personal anthems, but it's someone that I really admire because she's a true performer. Yeah. So I've seen her live more time than I'm willing to admit. I love seeing Madonna live. Performance, technology, but most than everything, personality and how she continued to fight. In addition to how she continues to fight for others, especially for the LGBTQ community.
And so, do you read books or not that much?
Yeah, that's embarrassing, but no.
Do you watch films?
It's embarrassing, but no. Well, okay, so let's talk back. Let's go back to the ADHD. I do watch films, and I love watching films. Some of my favorite films are independent European films. I'm not very much into a commercial, like big blockbusters. If everybody rushes to the theater to watch something like Wicked, I still haven't seen.
Okay.
I want to, but I cannot drag myself there because I already heard so much about Wicked that I feel like I saw it,
Yeah.
right? So great movie, amazing. I trust all of you, but I'm not going to rush to see the movie. Books, it needs to be nonfiction, first of all. I like to read about people and I like to learn about people. So I love biographies. I love reading about what Rupert Everett went through or what Boy George went through or reading about people, but they need to be authorized biographies and authorized true stories. I don't like someone that creates fiction out of something. So I wouldn't read a book about Madonna because Madonna hasn't released a book about herself. Those are the things that I enjoy because I can create so many fantasies in my head already and I create my own fiction. So I don't need to read someone else's fiction. And many people would disagree, but also it's hard for me to sit still and read, or sit for 2 hours and watch a movie. Usually I have to stop, have a break. 2 days later, I finish my movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you mean you have fictions in your head?
I think it's called dreams. I'm always dreaming of what else and what else can happen. And I'm always making plans and I'm always making plans to travel. I'm always making plans to create. I always have a lot of ideas. I'm a dreamer. Like, I like to create stories and I like to imagine. If I sit at a cafe, I probably know the life of everybody that is sitting there because I imagine where they are, and I'm very perceptive, so I know what could happen. So I during Halloween I used to read palms at our local pub, and I love that connection with people. So maybe I'm a crappy palm reader, but I'm very perceptive and I can sit with people, grab their hands, look into their eyes, and I sense what they're feeling, what they're going through. And it led to a good connection. People say, like, how would you know that? Or why would you say that? You know something that really is deep inside me. And I think it's because I have that perception and that fiction in my head that then it turns into reality by looking into people's eyes. I don't know. It's weird. So honestly, if I look at my palm, I don't even know. I might be dead by now. It's like, yeah. But when I grab someone's palm and look at their eyes, like there's some connection that is established. So all that fiction, I go in the train and I look at people and I create stories. Where are they going? Where all these people going? And I think that's part of the artistry in my mind is, do they have places to be? Why we're all walking so fast in London?
Yeah.
Where
I was in Canary Wharf today and I just watched the film Matrix yesterday and it's like so surreal to see all these people walking fast for
I know.
what? Like,
yeah, for what? Where are we going? But so that's what I always wonder. And I start making stories. And if you are like in Bank Station at 4:30 or 5 p.m., it looks like a science fiction movie. And you start making stories in your head and what if and what could happen and where are they going. So that's what I mean with that. And sometimes watching a movie that is based on a true story or reading a book that is based on real life, it grounds me a lot. And it also teaches me something. Because I don't know if fiction will help me learn something, but yes, what someone for real went through.
So little random questions of the end.
All right, let's do it.
What makes you laugh?
Oh, random things? Yeah, random things. I'm the person that everybody's silent and I start laughing and it's like, what makes me laugh? But what makes me laugh is very, very dry sense of humor. Is the sense of humor that maybe will offend 89% of people, but 11 or 10% will appreciate it and 1% would laugh. I'm part of that 1%. Yeah.
Do you believe in talent?
I do believe in talent, but I think art can be learned. So when I was teaching a keyboard, I was teaching music to some kids. A lot of people were like, well, no, you cannot teach this kid because that is untalented. And I was like, no, you can teach people to sing. You can teach people to play. I do believe in talent. I do believe there's something special about some people. Some people are born with a star, and that star will make it easy for everybody to learn, right? Or you know that, right? Like sometimes you're walking on the streets, even you see someone that is special, that person shines. And I don't know why, I don't know what it is. So I believe in the star within a person, not necessarily talent. I think talent you can learn, but if you have the star, it's much easier.
Do you prefer silence or small talk?
I'm horrible at small talk. Horrible at small talk.
What would you
Opposite.
say? Like if you have to do small talk right now, what would you say?
I don't know because I stand there like a dummy. So if I go to a bar or a reception or networking or anything else and I have to sit there and talk to people, I don't know what to say. So I'm really bad at small talk. But silence, I think, doesn't help you connect. But then also you cannot go with a deep conversation with everybody because it's like you become so heavy. So it's like small talk is fine, but if someone else is good at small talk, that can bring up the topics that we're going to be talking about, because I have zero machines. If I sit with someone that is not good at small talk and I need to come up with something to say, I would not be able to. So in those moments, I rather pick silence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like to go to the supermarket?
I love the supermarket, but I'm the person that I grab a small basket and then I realize that I need 3 carts, and then I end up with all these bags and have to walk 15 minutes home with 15 bags. Then I have to call someone to come help me. No, I never have a plan. I like to go to the supermarket without a plan, and then I end up buying a lot of things that they were unplanned. Yeah.
If you could live a parallel life, what would you do?
I would perform full time. I would be an actor full time. Yeah, but a very successful actor. So, yeah, I would like to be a talk show host.
Ah,
Oh yeah, I think it would be brilliant.
I think you'd be
yeah,
really
yeah,
good.
yeah. I think I agree. I agree.
Can I come?
Yes, of course. You can be my guest. Now,
Yes.
I mean, I have to pay back for this, but yeah, I would love to be a host in a talk show. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And last question, if you could have dinner with anyone, alive or dead, who would you choose?
That's what I wish I was deeper with my answers, but it had to be Madonna.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's time. She deserves a dinner with me. Yeah.
She's been waiting so long.
Yeah, I have so many questions. Yeah. I think it would be good. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you for having me.
That was really
I
nice.
really enjoyed it.